This is Rick Goodman, and he's an amateur radio operator. And Rick, I wanted to know, what is an amateur operator anyways?
Well, Kevin, an amateur operator is a lot of things. Primarily, we communicate for just the fun of the communications itself. But we also are a public service. We provide a lot of public service and emergency communications to the community and the state. We also have historically been involved with furthering the state-of-the-art in communications techniques. A lot of the more modern communications methods, such as some of the low Earth orbiting satellites, communications via those, have been developed by amateur radio operators. So amateurs have been integral in furthering the state-of-the-art. Mainly we communicate for the fun of it, though.
Rick, that looks like to me like an old telegraph key. Is that what that is?
It sure is. Matter of fact, we still communicate. A lot of us communicate with telegraphy. And all we do is we send dits and das. For example, I just sent a CQ, which means I want to talk to somebody. But the nice thing about this mode of communications is with 1 or 2 watts and a very, very simple transmitter, we can communicate all over the world.
Rick, what is fast-scan television?
Kevin's fast-scan television is actually regular television. What we do is we take the output of a common video camera, and it could be a camcorder, and we simply take the video out of that camera and we modulate a transmitter with it. So the output of the transmitter is an exact replica of the video waveform coming out of that camera. And then if we just use conventional transmitting techniques and transmit it over the air, and it can be received by anybody with the right converter to receive that signal. Again, that converter can be as simple as a regular cable-ready TV set tuned to cable channel 60 with a antenna connected to the TV set instead of the cable.
How far can you communicate with that?
Well, Kevin, it determines on a lot of things. If there's a large hill or an obstruction between 2 stations, you might not even be able to communicate a mile. Right? Over normal terrain, I can send my video signal out 40 to 50 miles. But we kind of have an ace in the hole. We have what's called a video repeater, and the club that I'm in has built a device, and this device is located on the top of a tall hill. And what it does, it accepts my video. I transmit a video signal to this repeater, and the repeater receives my signal and retransmits it on a different frequency and with a lot of power. And it can be received by stations 70, 80 miles away over a wide area, a much wider area than I can transmit it myself. What you're looking at here is a picture being transmitted from about 25 miles away from Dover, Pennsylvania, of John, W3SST, and that's his call sign. That's how he identifies himself. He is transmitting a black and white image, and he is using a station much like what you see here. And his signal is being transmitted from his station through what's called an amateur television repeater. And what that basically does is it takes his signal and rebroadcasts it to me so I can see it. We're looking at 3 monitors. Generally, one monitor set up to see through the repeater, one monitor set up to look at him direct, and this monitor would be to look at him if he was in color, which he's not really. And since we're not receiving him direct at all, he's too far away to receive direct, we're looking at him, both of these monitors, through the repeater. But this is what's known as fast scan television, and you see you get, while he's not moving too much now, you get full motion and sound from this. The next thing I'd really like to show you is an example of another video mode. It's called slow scan television.
And what's the difference?
What's the difference between slow scan and what we just saw?
Yes.
Good question. Slow scan television only sends one frame of video. With fast scan television or regular television like you see at home, you're watching 30 frames per second. And so naturally you have real-time motion, audio, people can wave, the whole works. With slow scan television, you send one picture. Now it's a full color picture. It looks very, very nice, but there's no motion and there's really no audio. The advantage is the amount of bandwidth is required to send. For example, fast scan television, since so much information is sent, think about it, 30 full pictures per second are sent over fast scan television. That's a lot of information compacted into a very short period of time. What happens when we do that, the bandwidth, the amount of radio frequency spectrum that it takes is enormous. For me to send one video, one fast scan video image, takes the space of about 500 to 600 voice channels. That's a prohibitively large amount of spectrum. And today, there's so many services that want to use that spectrum. We have a hard time finding places that we're allowed to transmit regular television. Where I was transmitting it before, it was up on the UHF frequencies. And that's the only place we're allowed to transmit television, and not many places there. Now, slow scan television, since we're only sending one video frame, we can take our time to send it. We can take, for example, 36 seconds to send one frame. That way, you only take the amount of spectrum necessary for one voice channel, and only a fraction of a percentage of what fast scan television takes. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example of a slow scan television transmission now. WB3AXC, this is WA3USG.
WB3AXC.
Hey, Kenny, how you doing today? Wonder if I could get a picture from you.
Sure, slow scan.
Oh, that's a Roger. We're all set up and are ready to receive here.
Okay, sounds good. Here it comes. I'll send it Robot 72. If you're ready, here it comes.
Kenny, we received that absolutely perfect. Thank you very much. This is WA3USG.
Rick, I understand you can receive images directly from weather satellites. Is that possible?
Kevin, it sure is. And today it's easier than ever. there's a series of satellites in orbit put up by the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association, NOAA, and also there's several satellites put in orbit by Russia that send data down. Now, the satellites themselves don't send images down. What they do is, as the satellite orbits the Earth, it looks and it scans one line, all right? Then it moves a little bit, scans another line, moves a little bit, and scans a third line, and so forth. What we can do here is we can, when the satellite is overhead, we can receive this data coming down, and we can take each scan and actually build an image from these consecutive scans in our computer. And we get very high resolution pictures of what is over us. Matter of fact, not only what is over us, but from this location, using my antennas that will actually track the satellite under computer control, I can receive the satellite when it's down below Mexico and as far north as the Hudson Bay. So I can get a complete image from Mexico up to the Hudson Bay in real time.
Rick, how do you know when the satellites are passing over?
Kevin, we have software that tracks not only the NOAA weather satellites, but tracks all the satellites. And we simply turn on the computer, and the computer will tell us, and as you see by this screen right here, for example, this is NOAA 10, and you can see what the status of NOAA 10 is now. What I'd like to do next is show you what a weather satellite image looks like and how it's acquired. Okay, we've downloaded a weather satellite image, and I'm bringing it up on the computer right now. And there's a couple of steps to doing this. The first is to acquire the image from the satellite, and there it is. Now you see there's actually two images on this screen. This left image is taken in the infrared. The right image is taken in visible light. And right now, we haven't done any enhancement or anything to it. We have collected all the data that the satellite sent down. The next thing we'll do is decide on what we want to display. And we will move the cursor, move our video block. And this right here, you probably can't see it well yet, but this is the great blizzard of January of 1996. And we've got that selected now to be displayed, and we'll now zoom in on it. Again, there's the storm now that's taking up the whole screen. Still, the exposure's not correct. We've got to equalize the picture now and optimize the dark levels and the light levels. And the computer's doing that right now. And there's the great storm of the great snowstorm of 1996. Now,
Rick, I'd like to thank you for letting us come into your house and videotape all of this equipment you have and teaching us many ways that we can communicate to other people around the world.
well, Kevin, it was my pleasure, and I'll tell you, we hams always like to tell other people what we do, and we like to toot our horn a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay?
Good.